Welcome to Homesroom. Just like Homeroom, we start off our day getting together with our homies, swapping stories, even a little kiss and tell action. This podcast contains language not suitable for younger listeners, topics about sex and mental health. Discretion is advised. Our views are our own. Let class begin. Welcome back. Hey, Caitlin. Have you left a review for a movie ever?
I surely have, Matt.
Was
Have
it a good
you?
review? Was it a good review or a bad review?
Probably a bad review.
So you're one of those people that we're going to be talking about right now. So we're talking about review bombing and movie smear campaigns because it's been happening more frequently, and the age of social media and the ease of being able to do it is probably better than it's ever been, where it's not just a bunch of newspapers or a word of mouth kind of deal. It's like instant. You can just create a bunch of bot accounts, and instantly destroy a movie's reputation or instantly destroy an actor's reputation that's attached to a movie because of whatever reason. So we're going to talk about that. Caitlin, did you know that this was a thing before I pitched it, or before I told you and then you said we should do an episode on it?
I had no idea that it was like that these campaigns were kind of like concerted, coordinated efforts. I kind of know and understand that there is a larger machine of business behind Hollywood, and I doubt the legitimacy about some of these like award programs. Like I think that sometimes it's just like business plans that are pitched, and so your PR people knows the right person, and that's why you got this award. But no, I had no idea that review bombing and like crashing the reputation of a movie was like a thing.
Yep. So we'll start off by saying this episode is about review bombing and movie smear campaigns, like I just said at the beginning. But now that we have your attention, it's more than that, because a lot of times it's the reputation of an actor, or and in today's world, the politicized everything of Hollywood, in the fact that I don't know why people are surprised by this more often than not, but like Hollywood is a bunch of artists. Do you really think that they're not like about like people and like the like more liberal side? Like they are in fact artists. Not saying all of them are that way, but like it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody when they're like, no, we want people to be whoever they want to be, because they literally are people being whoever they want to be on screen over and over and over and over and over again, and get paid to do it. So like, I don't know, whatever. But with smear campaigns, with awards specifically, is where I want to start, and you just brought it up, so it perfectly fits. So if I said Zero Dark 30 was on a list of award smear campaigns, would you be surprised or not surprised?
Zero Dark 30. Can you refresh my memory about the premise?
Hunting Osama bin Laden. It is the Jessica Chastain and Chris Pratt, and there's another person I can't remember his name, but it is the retelling of the hunt for and ultimate like termination of Osama bin Laden.
Very PG of you to say it that way.
Yeah, like, I don't know how to like.
I feel like the killing of Osama bin Laden was like one of the most unifying things in our country in recent history. So that kind of confuses me if you're about to tell me that, yes, it was on like a coordinated smear.
It was. The film sparked controversy and accusations that it promoted torture, because that was part of the movie, was they were torturing and torturing for information on the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden. But yeah, so like it sparked issue for that. Would you be surprised if I told you that Brokeback Mountain was on this list?
Hell no, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That movie was ahead of its time, I will tell you.
It was ahead of its time. Some people said it portrayed not flattering subject matter, and it was like you said, ahead of its time. So yeah, that one was on the list for trying to get it snubbed in during award season. What if I told you Million Dollar Baby was also on this list? Hilary Swank, boxing.
Oh, the one where she like ends up intubated in the ICU.
I believe so, but I don't remember because I haven't seen that movie in forever. I don't remember the details. I just remember the gist.
I don't know enough about that storyline.
But yeah, so that one was on the list because it was conservative critics and disability advocates criticized the film for its perceived stance on assisted suicide. So it got smeared because that's that's how people viewed it. Um, let's see what's the next one. Okay, now we're getting to more like I went backwards up this list, so like they'll get a little bit harder. Saving Private Ryan. Would you believe me if I told you that was on this list?
Homies, here's what I know about Saving Private Ryan. I had an uncle who I no longer speak to who let me watch that movie way too young, and the only thing I remember about it is that some dude gets his thumb blown off. It's very like action intense. I mean, no, actually, maybe I'm thinking of Black Hawk Down. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Different war movie.
I was like, I mean, I guess it's yeah.
No, Saving Private Ryan.
Tom Hanks, Matt Damon, a lot of young actors that are more prominent now.
Yes. At this point, it wouldn't surprise me, but it would probably surprise me as to why it would be part of a concerted effort to get it snuffed.
The biggest concerns were the film's historical accuracy, particularly concerning the role of British forces in D-Day landings. It's like exactly. So it was mostly because people were like, it's a war movie, but it's not war accurate. Pearl Harbor suffered the same fate. It's not on this list because it didn't for whatever reason make this list, but that one was also one where it got review bombed or I shouldn't say review bombed. It got critic bombed because of its historical accuracy, but it in itself never claimed to be a historically accurate movie. It was a story that happened during Pearl Harbor. Like it wasn't,
yeah,
it was just events that took place during that time. And it's sad to me that this is a movie that's on this list because it was a really good movie. And I watched this movie in seventh or eighth grade for like history, and we had to do a worksheet on it and find the things that were accurate or things that we had learned about so that we could appreciate the fact that like some things were real in this movie that clearly is not accurate. Stupid. What if I told you that Good Will Hunting was on this list?
It wouldn't surprise me if I could maybe perhaps take a guess as to why.
Why?
Because of its portrayal of learning disabled individuals.
No.
Oh.
Because they questioned whether Matt Damon and Ben Affleck actually wrote this movie.
Oh, what a dumb reason. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was insane. It's like the silliest things are why people review bomb, and that's kind of one of those things that I don't understand. So with that list I just told you, those were Oscar and award snubs campaigns before kind of the internet became what it is now. So now it's even easier to do. Facebook, Reddit, especially Reddit is probably like things go to die on Reddit is basically how that works. I myself personally, like I used to be on Reddit and I don't even understand the point of Reddit except for to be miserable and angry at everything.
Accurate. Yep.
To me, it is not worth my storage space to have that app on my phone. Like I just don't even care anymore. But like I said, there's a lot of things that make those movies what they are, whether you like those movies or hate those movies or agree that they like weren't that good or should have been treated the way they are. It's kind of, pick your poison, I guess. But with that list, what movies would you think in the last maybe 10 years were on or have had review bombs or smear campaigns run against him? Like just like
There,
three. Just give me three if you can.
I have two. I have two very quickly that popped to my forehead. One is the Sonic movie after the trailer released, and the Sonic CGI character had weird fucking teeth. And then there was a huge public outcry, and they literally redid the CGI Sonic through the entire edit of the movie because it was so bad. And then two, the Minecraft movie, which I still haven't seen, but I saw a large concerted effort of being mad at the trailer and mad at the creative choices to portray this fake pretend video game world. Uh, uh, but other than that, I don't think I could think of any others. I'm sure if you gave me like
That
a
shows
minute.
that shows that you are a movie watcher, not a movie person. But neither of those made any list that I saw.
Oh, okay.
That like people complaining about CGI and stuff like that. I assume they had the time to fix it, so they just fixed it. But
Yes.
as far as Minecraft goes, it made a ton of money from what
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I don't have the box office numbers for that because it did make a list, so I didn't need to. But from what I understand, it did pretty well, and I think the biggest thing that had the biggest noteworthy thing that I saw that came out of that movie is when they yell something in the movie, whatever, a catchphrase or some shit.
Chicken
That
jockey.
Yeah, and people were like throwing shit everywhere, and it was making a mess, and theater workers were kind of upset. And then they ran "Please Don't Do That" for I think 6 days, 5 days, or something like that. And then ticket sales dropped, and then they decided we need this money. We're not
Mm-hmm.
going to make that announcement. And then there was a spike in ticket sales, and it went back to the plateau that they expected it to reach. And theater workers probably just had to deal with it, which is really fucking annoying as a former theater worker. But
Mm-hmm.
I digress. So, talked about social media and how it plays a part. One of the movies that like I don't know what this movie is, and like I would have to go look it up, but it doesn't sound like a movie I would necessarily like care to watch regardless. But the 2014 movie Saving Christmas. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I have not.
Yes, yes. I was like, whatever. So Kirk Cameron responded to negative reviews by posting on his Facebook. He wrote, "Help me storm the gates of Rotten Tomatoes. All of you who love Saving Christmas, go rate it at Rotten Tomatoes right now and send the message to all the critics that we decide what movies we want our families to see." The attempt backfired, apparently, and it actually ended up getting more negative reviews. And the first 3 weeks after the film's release, it gained additional like noteworthiness because it became the lowest rated movie on IMDb's bottom 100 list.
Is that the one that hold on, let me Google
I'm
it
gonna
real
tell you
quick.
right now, I don't know the answer to that. This
Saving
is what,
Christmas 2014.
yeah. So
Oh my gosh, these reviews.
yeah, so uh, uh the Cameron responded later to the low rating, saying that it was due to a campaign on Reddit by haters and atheists to, to purposely lower the film's ratings. So again, Facebook backfired for this like situation. But yeah, like that's a film that like it immediately had an impact, and art is art regardless of whether you appreciate it or not. So that one, if you've seen it and you liked it, let us know. If you've seen it and you hated it, let us know. If you were one of those people I was like, yeah, that was stupid, it is what it
I will
is.
tell you, I have the movie poster pulled up on my phone right now. Kirk Cameron is the main character. I've never heard of him or any other character on this cast list. There is a cross on the cover, and the tagline for the movie is "Saving Christmas, put Christ back in Christmas."
Yeah.
So I could kind of see if somebody who was involved in the creative decisions for that movie was trying to falsely equate this as we're trying to fight the devil because the devil's
Yeah.
rating us low, how
Yeah.
that would probably backfire. Other than that, I know nothing else about that movie.
That's what I said. It's not one that I've seen, so I can't really comment on it. One that I have seen, and this one I knew was a thing, and it continued to be a thing well into the uh, annexation of it. And I think the like continuation movies after actually were worse than this one. But the 2016 Ghostbusters all female cast
Mm,
was one that got review bombed. Uh, have you seen that one?
I haven't seen it, but I do recall some of that controversy and some of the racism that played into some of
Yeah.
the
So,
criticism of the
yep.
movie.
So that one is really interesting. And again, I cycle back to Caitlin doesn't watch enough movies, and I love movies. So the that movie being led by all female was one of the, I don't want to say the first because there's been others, and like this is just one of the first that like was prominent that I remember specifically, where it caught a ton of flack for being all female led and how it didn't pay enough homage uh to the originals and this, that, and the other thing, and making it seem like it was trying to be something it wasn't. um and the the I don't want to say sequels because they're not sequels. They kind of, like I said, they annexed that movie and then did a continuation from the original Ghostbusters series. And to me, those movies were not as good as the 2016. That one was really funny. I enjoyed it. I own it. I don't. It's just sad. Um, but there's also a lot of flack with movies like that in general because it's like you shit on my childhood, and
Hmm.
we've all had a movie do that once or twice, so it is a thing. um Another movie similarly about the same time that also faced drastically lower scores when it was released in a similar way is Captain Marvel. Have you seen Captain Marvel?
I have. Hmm.
Yeah. So that one was uh almost immediately billed as a girl power movie, and because of that, it faced an uphill battle almost immediately. It also came out at a time where like the movies that were coming out in its class were all really strong, and this movie was almost a little bit of a letdown because of where we were emotionally in the story. So like there's that, but the it had over 50,000 negative reviews within the first several hours of its release.
I have a hard time believing that those are all from people that actually went out and watched the movie.
Yeah, yeah. So part of it was citing uh, offense towards leading actress Brie Larson for her perceived activism. I didn't like nor dislike Brie Larson in any way, shape, or form prior to this movie and her signing on to be Captain Marvel. Um, One of the things that I heard in an interview clip that she did was, I spoke up for myself in a meeting. I spoke up for myself somewhere else. And then I got labeled a bitch. And people didn't want to
Hmm.
work with me, work for me, or work around me. And I dealt with that. And you know what I did? I still found jobs because at the end of the day, I'm going to stay true to me. And if those projects are the only ones that find me, so be it. Uh, and that is a paraphrase because that was a clip and I don't remember all of it. But I was immediately a fan of hers because at that point, knowing what it means to be considered an asshole or a bitch or whatever, and people treat you immediately different just because you walked in a room and they've heard that thing about you, and then people
Hmm.
get to know you and they're like, damn, I was expecting a different person. It's like, yeah, because you listen to every dumb fuck that has a microphone, or you listen to every dumb fuck that speaks their opinion. So yeah, that was one that like I don't know that the movie was necessarily bad or good in terms of like the movie itself, but I do know that it didn't deserve the hate that it got. What do you think?
Um, I think that if Brie was a man saying the same thing in a boardroom of Marvel execs, it would have been labeled as very like well spoken and so great that you advocate for yourself like that. I think that that criticism would have been different had she identified as a man. I also think that Marvel and
For the record, it wasn't Marvel that she had that conversation with. Marvel gave her
oh
a shot when others didn't, is what she's saying.
well, good for Marvel.
Yeah.
Uh, I do think I do have a criticism of Marvel. I think that Marvel, uh, first and foremost in the Marvel movie, I think that Brie Larson tried a little bit hard to be like quirky, like it
Mhm.
wasn't very organic. But that's just a criticism of a actress, and who am I to say anything?
Yeah.
Um,
Also, remember, directors direct, so it could be directors. Just because
100%,
an actor makes a choice doesn't mean it was their choice to be made.
100%. I do believe that as a movie franchise, Marvel does not do a very genuine job of trying to empower women, or like anytime there's like a
It
girl
does
power
seem
scene,
it does seem secondary.
it
Like it
is
does seem like
rammed down your
yeah,
throat.
yeah,
Like Endgame, there's a scene, the big
yeah.
battle scene at the end of the first Endgame. Spider-Man's trying to cross the fucking battle zone or whatever, and he's like, how am I going to get this gauntlet across? And then all the girls show up and they're like, he has backup. And I was in the movie theater and I saw that and I audibly was like, oh my God. It was just like rammed down your throat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think there was something. What else was going on in our culture around this time for Marvel and the Ghostbusters movie where women were just being criticized in general? I think like
So
sociology here.
if you think back to 2016, 2019, there is an underlying 4 year span of time in this group that I we try and stay away from politics, but there's a notable transition of power there that may have emboldened some people to speak their minds more in and around women centered things. Just by the by, uh, around a similar time frame and with a similar and this one is one that I absolutely love this debate because I see it both ways and I do understand what they're getting at and I do understand what happened with one of the characters, so like there's a little bit of it but I don't know, so it's such a good debate to have. Everybody has their opinion on the franchise, everybody has their opinion on the original three and then the newer three and the prequels and how those sync up and which ones are the best and this that and the other thing. The Star Wars sequel trilogy, led by Daisy Ridley, that was another movie that was, or another section of movies or series of movies that got review bombed and faced a ton of uphill battle on Rotten Tomatoes and Cinema Score, um, just in general, but also around the fact that people just couldn't accept a strong female lead. And this is where the debate gets really fun because they do have other strong female leads in Star Wars that were received well. So it does argue, was it the actress? Was it the writing? Was it the story? What what actually was it? Because some of them are accepted, some of them aren't. And as the show has gone on, there has been some and others that are received well and some that aren't. And I think it's Star Wars just is it is Star Wars. It is a juggernaut in itself that I don't know how you could sum it up. But one of the things that like it does specifically say they don't know how many of the reviews that were written were bots or not, and that plays a huge role into how those movies were rated, specifically The Last Jedi. That's the one that comes into question where they so many negative reviews came in and the score dropped so rapidly that it flagged in the system of the reviewing applications where they're not quite sure. So it's like, meh. But then they did do a little bit of what is quoted here as uh, criticize the film's inclusion and concept for its radical diversity and female figures. And this is where, like I said, the debate gets good, because John Boyega his character did not get treated as well as he should have gotten treated. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not necessarily, like, you can't quantify that. You can't say, well, he must have gotten this story or he must not have gotten that. Like, you just want better for that character because that character deserved better. And that's a fan opinion, which is where fan reviews come into play. And like, so on one hand, yes, absolutely. But on another, it's just so interesting to be like, but was it that, or was it that, like, you're tying him into this because he's a black guy and this, that, and the other thing? Like what actually was it? Because everybody's got an opinion. Have you seen the new Star Wars trilogy? And do you agree that it should have been a negatively reviewed movie?
100%. I vividly recall that my now husband and I were at the midnight release to watch The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I can't remember what the other one is in that.
The Rise of Skywalker.
I don't know if I've actually ever seen Rise of Skywalker. Now that we think about it. But I will say, if I'm recalling correctly, these were the first chunk of movies that came out after Disney purchased the IP.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that an embrace of diverse characters, or even continuing to embrace diverse characters, just maybe nudge it up a little bit, was longtime fans, or even anybody who's a critic of it, just saying that, oh, this is a Disney politically woke agenda that they're shoving down our throats. I genuinely loved Force Awakens and Last Jedi. I do recall telling my husband, I said, Disney purchased the IP from
Lucasfilms.
For a pretty freaking penny. It was a lot of money. I said, we are about to watch Disney turn this universe, this storyline, into a cash cow. Like, they are going to milk it for everything that it's worth to try and get money out of this IP. And that's what I believe has happened. Like, it's cheapened the story. Like, I don't know. I just believe that I was proven right with the output of Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
But I believe, just largely looking at the larger picture, that I think that if that transition hadn't have happened, I'd be interested to hear criticism of the same storyline, the same actors and actresses selected for the same roles, but only if Disney had not purchased it, and see if there would be any difference.
Yeah. I do know that what's often compared, and this is why I love this debate, particularly about this Star Wars trilogy, is this debate is had with their animated series and how some of them are female led, and those series are reviewed really well, and the story, but then also people will stack Rogue One, a Star Wars story, up against the trilogy and say, look, Jyn Erso is a better written character, and that movie was a better movie in comparison to any of the three of those. And that's where people, again, give a little bit of credence to the argument that it's not just about the female lead, that it's about the story. And I always find it really interesting when you hear a director or a writer or whoever, a showrunner, producer, talking about how we just wanted to make a really good movie, and or we really wanted to make good television. And I always say, when I sit down and watch something that was just really good, it was done well, I would review it really highly. I always say, this is what happens when you tell a good story versus trying to make a good television show or make a good movie. When you sit down to tell a good story, there is a distinct difference, and I think that audiences can feel it. And I think that the passion of the actors involved feel it way more. Not saying that in the Star Wars trilogy they didn't feel it. There's only they know that, but I can't help but think it is a better story because they had more to work with when it came to when it came to like what was there. We already knew and had an emotional, if you watch the original Star Wars, A New Hope, or just Star Wars, because that's what it was originally called. You knew going into Rogue One, brave souls lost their lives to get us this information.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, I think maybe 3/4 of the way through that movie, you forgot that part. You
Yep.
forget that that is where that movie is going. And it's not a spoiler to say it if you've never seen Rogue One, if you've seen any of the Star Wars, because you know the only way they got the plans for the Death Star was simply because people went on a suicide mission essentially to get them. And to then flash forward, 99.9% of the way through the movie to be faced with that like saddened thing, but then also see CGI Leia say, "What did they give you? Hope?" You're just like, "Damn, man! Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel weird about this because that was good, but also I'm sad." And yeah. So again, is it? Do you think that those movies stand on their own as well as Rogue One does, or any other Star Wars series that you might have seen clips of or reviews for?
I think Rogue One does stand by itself as just a decently good movie, but also as, like you said, great, like excellently written characters, a great storyline,
Mm-hmm.
answers a lot of questions that just inherently watching the original trilogy you're left with,
Yeah.
or like maybe things that you want to know more about. I will tell you, Matt, there are very few movies that I have ever gone to the actual movie theater and fallen asleep watching in the movie theater. In today's day and age, going to the movie theater, getting snacks and your drink, like, or a babysitter, it's a financial investment.
Yeah.
I took the most expensive nap that I probably have ever taken going to the movie theater to go watch the Han Solo standalone
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Uh, that one was garbage from the small bit that I do recall because I fell asleep watching it.
Yeah.
I think it's just more of Disney falling down that path of, well, now that we own the rights to this story and Rogue One did so well, we should just spend all the money in the world to expand this universe and tell all these prequel stories and have these high dollar actors and actresses. And I'm like, Emily Clark is in the origin movie for
Mm-hmm.
Han Solo, but nowhere else in the franchise. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
So I just I think Rogue One is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Since then,
Um,
it's kind of fallen off for me.
I will say that uh, we got a very good Lando out of the Han Solo like prequel movie. Um, why I'm blanking on his name, and I can't.
Childish Gambino.
But he has a name. That's not his name. Uh, and from what I understand, he retired Childish Gambino. So that's why I'm trying to go Donald Glover. Donald
Yes, Donald
Glover.
Glover.
He is like if you're gonna have Lando Calrissian in a movie, it's got to be played by somebody that understands the assignment, and that motherfucker understood the assignment. Which goes to tell you, it wasn't about the movie, it wasn't about the writing. It was some people understood the assignment and some people didn't. There was an actor who was like self-campaigning to be Han Solo, and they didn't go with that actor, and they definitely fucking should have, because I think he would have been way better. And he also had already played young Harrison Ford in something else.
Mm.
So like I just remember watching his like self audition video, and he was redoing the cantina scene.
Mm.
And like if I wasn't looking at looking at the screen that he was on, I would not have realized I wasn't actually listening to Harrison Ford deliver these lines. So there's that. Jumping forward just a little bit in time,
Mm-hmm.
um, did you watch the 2025 Snow White movie?
No, but I'm very familiar with the controversy.
Yeah, so that one was review bombed, and it got hundred of thousand 1-star reviews that brought its overall rating to 1.5 out of 10. And it is the lowest the lowest ranked movie ever before the this particular review site discontinued the grade for unusual voting activity. And it was in part to and the targeted involvement of political positions regarding the Gaza war, as Snow White, portrayed by Rachel Ziegler, has spoken in defense of Palestine, and the evil queen actress Gal Gadot
Oh.
is Israeli. So it sparked so much, and I didn't watch it not because I didn't want to watch it or because I had heard all of that or whatever, but because it's just one of those movies that didn't like I don't know why they're remaking all these live action things. Like
Mm-hmm.
Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorites, and I remember watching like part of that and being like, they should stop doing these. Like they don't
Mm-hmm.
really need to do these anymore. I don't know why we're doing it.
So the controversy around that Snow White movie was, in addition to, yes, currently, I don't know where she is in the world, but Gal Gadot is out and about in the ethers of the world trying to record a movie. And because she is pro-Israel, there are protesters day in and day out showing up to the filming scene, like with bullhorns, like
Yeah.
all of that. So Gal Gadot and just the Israel, Palestine, the genocide that's going on in Gaza right now is just going to be inherently political. However, Rachel Ziegler, the main actress who plays Snow White, she ruffled feathers because she was openly rude to like reporters that were asking about her portrayal of the Disney princess. I felt she came across as like standoffish and just like turned her nose up at some of these questions. But she famously, the response that was clipped was, this isn't going to be your typical Disney princess. Like, the prince is not going to come save her. She's going to save herself. And then, people, that's not a direct quote, but some people clipped that and said like, oh, this is another woke agenda. Like, here we are. It's Disney just ramming this shit down our throats again. Another point of controversy in this movie that I didn't really understand until I listened to an interview of Brad Williams, who is a little person comedian.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke about how pissed he was at, God, what's his name? He was in Elf. He was in Game of Thrones. He's perhaps the most famous little person in Hollywood.
Oh, Peter Dinklage?
Yes, Peter Dinklage. So Peter Dinklage was asked while this movie was being made, while the new Snow White movie was being made, what are your thoughts about Disney and them remaking Snow White? And he said something along the lines of, well, they better not be using little people again, and something like that. And it was this response in this interview kind of educated the decision for them to not only not use little people as the story originally uses,
Mm-hmm.
but to use CGI normal sized people. No, not normal sized people. I don't think that that's politically correct, but to use taller individuals instead of actually using little people. And Brad Williams said, that's so fucking rude. Of course, after you've had these huge acting roles as a little person in Hollywood, you have the grounds to say that, but that could have been tons of jobs and roles for other people like you that, so the movie cover is now on, as we're sitting here recording, this is on Disney Plus, and it like shows up as like a now available to watch. Snow White's surrounded by a group of what looks like grown men who are dressed like they've, like woodland creatures, is significantly more off-putting and creepy to me than the original portrayal of the movie. So I just see the cover and I'm like, no, I'm not interested.
Yeah. So again, that's one I'm glad you had some information about, because that was one of the more like newer things that I looked up, and I hadn't heard about it because I didn't care about that movie one way or the other. So I just not like it was not in my sphere of influence. So I didn't know about it. One thing that I did know and I did hear about, and as a parent, you might have heard about, is the Bluey episode Sleepy Time getting review bombed because, yeah, yep. So it was rated on IMDb in August 2022, just behind Breaking Bad episode. For a brief period of time, it had a perfect rating of 10 out of 10. This Bluey episode had a perfect rating of 10 out of 10. And then all of a sudden it drops to 9.9. And soon after, the executive producer congratulated the episode on IMDb's Twitter. And soon after that, uh, anime episodes, I guess it doesn't make a difference whether but Attack on Titan and another one, they started rising in the rankings above it. And anime watchers were mad that that Bluey was rated so much higher than their favorite anime that they created a campaign to review bomb so that they would have a higher ranking on the platform than Bluey.
Do you remember earlier in this episode we were talking about Reddit users?
Yeah.
Those are who did that to that Bluey episode. Okay.
That one was, I had to include that one because it's current, because we're both parents and have probably watched Bluey a time or two. I know I got a bunch of Bluey toys around here that I fucking whatever, and I definitely fuck with Bluey's the Bluey dad on that show. That guy's a G. But like legitimately, I cannot with that. Like what?
If you have not seen this Bluey episode, Bluey, if you're not a parent or you're looking for a wonderful show to show your children, it's entertaining for parents. The little girls it's a family of dogs. They're Australian, and I just love the Australian accent. It's funny, it's entertaining. But this specific episode that we're talking about is the younger sister Bingo is having a nightmare or like a hard time sleeping, and it's just like very relatable stuff of like the mom ends up in the floor in the kid's bed, like the kid's room, like whatever. But it's a beautiful like journey through this little dog's dreams about how everything's big and scary, but it's stuffed animal, and then ultimately the mom Chili are a great source of comfort, and then they're cuddling, and then Bingo goes to sleep. But it's very emotional. The score for the episode is very beautiful. Genuinely a great piece of child's TV. But for chronically online Discord moderator mouth breathers to take it upon themselves and be like, well, excuse me, my Attack on Titan episode isn't doing very well. What is this Bluey? We should all coordinate our attack. Oh my God, that's so on brand for them. And I'm saying that as a former them.
Yeah, so like I said, I was gonna toss that one in because I figured you would either have heard of that one or be able to relate to it.
Oh my God, that surprises me.
Yeah, so that one was really funny. This one is not funny, and
okay.
I have bigger issues with this show currently than I did with the first season that I watched. So you asked me forever ago, we were talking about my books and this, that, and the other thing, and you said, have you watched Last of Us?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, I haven't watched it because I haven't been out. I don't want it to like, I didn't play the game and I don't know enough about it to know if it's going to make me like disappointed. So nothing to watch, ran out of things in between seasons, couldn't find a movie. We're like, let's start that because there's nothing else. It'll take up some time. So we watched the first season, second season's coming out. We really enjoyed the first season, thought it was really good. We watched the second season. I think the second season was like, it started off really strong and then it just slowly ticked down as a show. However, what people decided to not appreciate about the show, and it immediately, like, the show airs on Sundays. Sunday, I'm going to say night, not evening, because I would say the show comes on in the evening. Sunday night, it was already being smashed online for an episode long time, which centered on a gay relationship between your main character and her I guess girlfriend. I don't know if they made it official in the show. I guess either way, but it is super dumb that just immediately like it was the equivalent of rage quitting a game. People
Yes.
rage reviewed. Why are you going to do? You can't, damn it! And that was, what, maybe 4 weeks ago, something like that. So like, it's insane that it caused so much like backlash, and it's like, whatever, man. Like, I don't know. That wasn't my issue with the show. If I had an issue, it wasn't that one.
Listen, all right. When you pitched this topic, this was one of the examples that you
Well, I
gave.
didn't pitch this topic. You asked for this topic. Let's get
Oh,
that straight.
okay. Let me correct the record. You brought this up, and my immediate knee-jerk response was, are people fucking stupid? Very clearly. Spoilers for The Last of Us if you haven't ever watched, or I personally watched some of my favorite streamers play both the first and the second game. So I already knew the storyline. I had already watched it. I was familiar with it. But the first season even kind of steers away from the storyline of the actual video game, and not only take some creative liberties, but they highlight a whole ass gay relationship for almost an entire episode. When Joel and Ellie go to, I don't remember their characters' names right now, but Nick Offerman and his lover's house, where they decide
Oh yeah.
they fall in love. It's a beautifully written
Yeah. This is a really, really, really
episode.
good episode.
It's such a compelling piece of TV. I have to imagine maybe back in the day when that episode originally aired that it was possibly review bombed. But if you've invested so much time into this TV show, you've watched the first season, you know that there is a certain type of diversity that is being embraced in the storyline of these beautifully portrayed fucking characters. Why in season 2 are you so shocked and appalled and disgusted at a lesbian relationship? Representation fucking matters. Okay? The video game, the same thing happens in the video game. I would guess, because I haven't actually watched the second season, because I know the storyline of the second season, and I don't want
Yeah.
to watch what
Yeah.
happens.
It's coming. It's coming.
But I'm sure that there were creative liberties taken, and there were some parts of the story that were there a little extra time was spent on. But that boggles my mind that you've already seen the first season. I don't understand. Unless I could see there being a different person or different the same kind of political patterns that we observed in our prior conversation are at play perhaps now. And maybe there's a little bit of mob mentality of we must take back our culture because they are just perverting our children. They're turning the frogs gay, kind of Alex Jones shit, I don't understand. I don't get it. But for every negative review that some pea-brained dweeb left on the internet for that specific episode, I promise you there are at least 5 younger people that are so comforted and encouraged with the fact that they see representation of a lifestyle that they agree with. I don't know. I think it's still a net positive for the good guys.
Yeah. I have my opinions about that scene, not because I don't want, I'm like, oh, gay people. I have opinions about it because it just didn't make sense. It didn't add anything to the story, and it could have been shortened, and not shortened because it didn't need time, but it just didn't have to go as far as it went, and that was for shock value, and it did what it was supposed to do. And I think that for me personally, I was just kind of sitting there I was like, I guess it's HBO. I don't know what else, how else to explain it. And it's that was weird. Don't get me wrong. We are talking about our next episode being about smut books. So it's not that. It's literally just it's got to have a place and make sense. And it just didn't make sense to me. But on to our final smear campaign. And this one is what started this whole idea because I was talking to you about what was going on at the time, and you were like, oh my gosh. So recently, Captain America Brave New World came out. And during its week uh, lead up to launch and the media blitz they did, it was immediately getting reviews of like the most heinously negative. And it was so controversial because it was being reviewed at like a 31%, I believe, is the lowest I saw, which now I can't find those numbers, which was weird. And it had a audience score of, I think at that time the audience score was never lower than like 87 or 88 is the lowest I saw across any platform. And all of a sudden it was like, this is the worst movie ever. There's no, Marvel doesn't know what they're doing. This shows you that Marvel's dead. And it just went on and on and on. Um, so it came out against Bob Marley, One Love. And as much as I love Bob Marley and as like, yep, as that movie was supposed to be, it shouldn't have had a bad weekend. There's no way that it was going to have a terrible weekend. That's a juggernaut going against like the smallest giant. So it's strange. So Bob Marley One Love was projected to gross 20 to 25 million, opening in 4,013 theaters over its 6-day opening time frame. The flash forward to the review bombs of uh, Captain America, pre-order tickets were being canceled because of poor critical reviews. So uh, the film made 6 million on its first day and 2.2 million on its second day and 4.3 million on its third day. Uh, Went on to have a 6-day opening of 25.8 million, including 15 million in its traditional weekend. Or so it was being outperformed by a movie that should not in any way have outperformed it
Yep.
because of the review bombing. Um, and one of the things that they note in this breakdown of the box office is One Love's IMAX screening accounted for 3 million of it, but also the like prices, the price difference in IMAX versus or traditional theater kind of make that dollar value different. Um, and one of the things that like I just couldn't wrap my head around, and it made me think back to, and this is why we had the conversation, was Madam Web received a ton of negative critiques, and it was panned an embarrassing mess, the worst comic book movie yet, uh, and it was essentially it became like memes
Yeah.
and like made fun of, and it was another, I don't want to say disaster, but like another setback in the same vein that Morbius was a setback for Sony doing these movies. And it comes down to one of the biggest complaints that I saw repeatedly when looking this up from Madam Web was Sydney Sweeney doesn't have as much star power as they thought she did to bring people into this movie. And how are you going to have a Spider-Man movie with no spider people?
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand that last one because there is a little bit of validity to that. But nobody said that this wasn't an origin story, because when you look at Tom Holland, he wasn't really a spider person until the end of that movie. And when it comes back to uh like how the suits are and when they get them and how they get, like, every story is different, and they were trying to set up Madam Web to be a franchise. So your review bombing could have potentially ruined whatever they had coming, which ended up doing. However, with Captain America, it didn't pay off in the way that they wanted it to. Um, it became almost a rallying cry for people to be like, no, fuck that. This is a good movie. So for every negative review that I was seeing, there was fans destroying that person's in response. And I love that simply because when we watched the movie, I enjoyed it. I don't know that it was a Captain America sequel so much that it was an Incredible Hulk sequel, and they changed a actor, and I didn't realize that that was what was happening. I wish I had known that going into it because that would have made more sense about what was going on in the movie prior. But I appreciated the movie for what it was as a movie and enjoyed it. And I think that people need to realize that, like, even in the comics, Captain America ended up being Sam. So, like,
See, I wonder though too. Speaking of Disney turning franchises into fucking cash cows, with their purchase of Marvel, and I still haven't seen the miniseries that explores Sam as Captain America for the first time. So I don't know if that makes me any more or less prepared to see the new Captain America, which I still have not seen. The only thing that I can think of is just that, like, people are like, maybe the last couple Marvel movies have flopped. Nobody wants to give it the time of day because Tony Stark is now deceased. Pour one out. But still, like you said, in the comic books, Sam still ends up being Captain America.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I just see kind of a common theme around these review bombings and ideology.
Yep. And that's kind of the underlying theme. And I think that, again, this is one of the things that, like, I think should illustrate to people that people hold the power. If you don't like something, or you don't agree with something, or you don't want to spend your money on something, you don't have to. And if you use your voice and say, I don't like this thing, people will kind of listen because they have no choice, especially if you follow through with action. So, like, when it comes to movies and reviews and whatever, there's been a lot of people that were pushed away from movies, and I think that one of the things about this particular list of movies that I've presented in this last hour, we've talked about it, is this is just a snapshot of what I could find in a quick search of doing a little bit of research and trying to hit some ones that, like, were popular enough that somebody might have seen or you might have heard about in headlines or whatever, because that's what we do here. But ultimately, like, at the end of the day, I enjoy movies because I enjoy movies. If you're going to movies to rip them apart, then, like, maybe you just have to understand that, like, movies are going to be bad, and it's not inherent on the movie. It's your taste in movies and how harshly you grade them. Shout out to What the Bleep and Sean. We used to talk about how we should start a podcast or a review thing forever ago because we never agreed on any movie. Because I liked a lot of things and he hated everything. So it was always rare that we agreed, and people would use that as their, like, if they both agreed, this is a good movie, because they never agree. So, I mean, it just kind of is. So, wrapping this up, Caitlin, have you ever walked out of a movie? And if so, what movie was it?
Ooh, have I ever walked out of a movie? I don't think I've ever walked out of a movie. The closest that I ever got was my $60 nap that I took in the Han Solo prequel movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So when you brought that up, that's when I wrote this question down. I walked out of Knocked Up because it was just so ridiculous. And Seth Rogen is a good actor. I do find him funny in a lot of the things that he's in, but he was just an utter asshole, and mistreatment of women is not something that, like, I'm really down with. And then, like, I was almost out when he couldn't get the condom on and then tossed it. And I was like, that might as well be fucking rape, man. Like, I don't, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. And I was like, you know what? I like Katherine Heigl, and I was here because I wanted to see how well this movie was going to be, because she can be funny. It's not worth this. I'm getting up and I'm fucking leaving. So that is the only movie that I've ever walked out of, because I just couldn't. I've since watched, I think, most, if not all of it, and it's not like terrible, but it's definitely not one that I would be like, oh hey, that's on, turn it on. So
I also don't think that that's a movie that's probably aged very well.
yeah, see, I don't. Again, I guess I was just ahead of my time,
You are.
or
You
woke,
are.
as the kids say, because I just,
Yet again, here's Matt Holmes being a supportive king.
yeah, like I said, I don't know, but with all of this and smear campaigns and reviews and stuff like that, uh, do you find that this episode gave you what you wanted out of it as we pitched it as an idea?
100%. I think I'm definitely more aware of it. What I am going to be far more conscientious of moving forward is like this mob mentality of shitting on a movie just to shit on it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have been like, oh yeah, that's like valid points. I'm not gonna go see this movie because yeah, maybe Sydney Sweeney is like whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I just think it gets to a point where we can't have our cake and eat it too. Like, no matter what, you're gonna have critics and people that don't like movies, but to go out of your way to review bomb a movie, potentially getting in the way of new franchises being built, of an industry being revamped. It's already hard enough to be a fucking creative, people, okay? But it kind of seems to me like these concerted efforts are directly harming an industry that's already struggling in the first place because of COVID and just creative vision in the first place.
Yeah.
So you can't really argue about Hollywood making the same cookie cutter movies while we're also doing stupid shit like this, because we disagree with diversity in movies.
Yeah, I would agree.
Just
with
stay
that.
home and read your Bible if that's what you want to do.
I'm
kidding.
So
I'm joking.
me and Courtney have started this year out with a letterboxed blank slate watch list, review list, so we can keep track of every movie we've watched this year, and it's only from this year, starting in January. And right now we're at probably 53 movies, and nothing has scored a perfect 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd for us. Some stuff has come close to like a 4, I think is the highest, maybe a 4.5, I think is the highest either one of us has given. And I decided, damn, I'm a little bit harsher on movies than I originally thought I was. And if I watch the whole movie, it almost automatically gets a 2 stars, no matter what. If I made it through, because it kept my entertainment enough. There's only a handful of movies that were just like, this was so dumb, I was not paying attention to any of it. If I wasn't sitting on my own couch, I would have no. So there's only a couple 1.5s, but for the most part, like, a good movie to me, like, entertaining, I enjoyed it, is like a 3 star, 3.5. So understanding like how you rate movies and keeping track of it to see, oh, this is the kind of movie that I like. So if these are the things, then like, okay, I'm less likely to like a movie like this or like that, or more likely to like a movie like this. Understand that and go into the movie with like an understanding of what you will and won't like. So maybe you go into it without like a predetermined, I'm gonna fucking hate this because this is the movie, or you go in with expectations way too fucking high for a movie you weren't gonna like anyway going in. So like, I don't know, that's what I got. Caitlin, thank you for entertaining a movie centric episode with my ridiculous movie deep dives and things. I appreciate it.
Love it. I always want to hear more. Anytime you want to crack open that dome of yours, homie, and give us a little view on the inside, I am always smarter every time we do that. I'm better off having a peek inside the brain of Matt Holmes. But homies, if you disagree or agree with any of our criticism of any of these films, sound off and let us know. I want to know if we ruffled the feathers or not.
Yeah, I agree. And don't review bomb us. Give us good reviews. Give us good reviews. We need them. We haven't gotten any write-ins, and I want some write-ins. Write in some reviews if you can. Just don't review bomb us. Bye. The bell is about to ring. If you want to drop us a voice message or simply ask a question, you can do that by clicking the link in the show notes below. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people find us. Theme music by Kinsey. More music available on Spotify. Remember, every day is a class. Go learn something.